Hello, my name is Sheila Frampton-Cooper. I am an artist, a crazy quilt-loving artist from California, and I'm excited to be at the Festival of Quilts sharing my work with all the UK quilters over these 4 days. The first piece I want to share with you is my most recent work, and this is Dragon Dance. Well, what inspired me was I was looking through a yoga magazine and I saw a line drawing of a mandala, and for some reason that just struck something in me. And then I created the design for this piece, and over the course of the year, I made it, I put all the pieces together. So this is a technique called applique-piecing, and it's different from how I usually work, because I have my drawing, I do my value study, I know what it's going to look like after, and I proceed to put it together. Now I want to share another piece with you. This is Tangerine Dreams. This I just got back. It had been traveling with Quilt National 19 for a few years, and I'm happy to have it back because I really love this piece. It is pieced, and how I normally work is I choose my palette and then I just start cutting and sewing, and I would say I started around this area here, and then it grows. So it's a very organic process. This is my favorite way to work because it's a mystery. I don't know what's coming. It slowly reveals itself, and this excites me, it's fun, and it's also challenging because this is all pieced. There's no applique or anything like that. So to orchestrate my vision and think about the engineering to do this just with piecing is a challenge that I really, really enjoy. I started quilting by discovering Project Linus in 2009, and I basically taught myself over the course of a year by making 35 baby quilts and donating them to my local chapter in California. After 1 year, I started this piece, and this is Life in the City, which I began in January 2010. And as you can see, compared to what I do now, this is a lot more simple. There's no crazy curves and all of that. There's some waves happening, but that is it. Now, with this piece, it's almost like putting together blocks, but each block could almost be a little mini quilt. And in some ways, there's a version of a log cabin, the way I've done all of the pieces. But this took about, I'd say, 10 months to do. When I started it, I was in my dining room with my design wall hanging on my curtain rod. And by the time it was finished, I was in my new studio with a proper design wall, and I could pull everything together. So I love this art form so much. I love the idea of putting many pieces together to make something into a whole. And I love the different approaches to constructing, as far as doing improv. This would be something more structured as opposed to some of my other pieces that are really twisty and windy and maybe more complicated. So there's many ways to do this kind of work. The pandemic has brought a lot of changes, but also many opportunities. And last year I started developing online courses. And I teach a few things, and I have classes that are on demand that you can watch on your own time, and also live courses that are in 3-hour segments and you work in between. Now, 2 of the things that I teach are applique-piecing, which is creating your pattern and doing your drawing and all of that. So that's a little bit more planned. And the total improv, expressing yourself one piece at a time. And this would be an example of that. So in my workshops, I go over the color relationships, value, composition, scale, design principles, in hopes that you will take what I give you and make it your own and just have fun. And that's my motto, really fun. And I find a lot of people are really hard on themselves. And as a teacher, that I try to share my outlook on this work, and it's to just have fun. It's no pressure, and this is what I try to get my students to embrace and change. There's a time and a place for everything. There's a time to follow a pattern, and there's a time to be free. And I feel they're both equally important, and when you have the balance of the two, this is a good thing. In addition to piecing and doing applique-piecing, my love of painting, which is what I was actually doing before I discovered quilting, really comes through in my whole cloth paintings. Before I started, I'd say, early in 2008, I was doing a lot of small watercolor paintings of these imaginary characters that just come through. I usually draw them in pen, and then I would paint them with a tiny watercolor brush. Well, I've done many of those in quilt form now, and I want to talk about fire Kachina dances. This piece really, I just love it. I think of Toy Story. So you imagine with Toy Story, at night when everybody was sleeping, the toys would come alive. So with this piece, I imagine a Kachina doll sitting on the mantle of a fireplace, and then at night it just comes alive with this fiery energy hands and all of that. Now, the background is painted with actual textile paint, and I needed to do that so I could go around all of these tiny little rectangles and shapes and have total control. The actual figure itself is painted with thickened fiber reactive dye, and I have done free motion embroidery around all of the edges. So this background actually represents my childhood home. At our fireplace, we had these bricks like this color. And I chose to do that just thinking of the comfort of my home and Christmas and fireplaces. And I have a lot of Native American in my background, and that always comes through in my work as far as nature, earth goddess. A lot of my pieces are inspired by just the earth and the simple things, and nature and gardens and the ocean. Thank you so much for coming by to visit me and see my work, and for all of you that have come by my gallery at the Festival of Quilts.